all phases of the game. They've lost games failing in every area. So when they were swinging the bats well, they weren't pitching very well. And when they started pitching pretty well, the bats kind of went down, and they haven't run the bases all that well. And the defense has been pretty good, but has cost them some games at times. So they can just never, ever get all phases of the game going at the same time. And I got to believe that's making Paul, especially the base running mistakes that we've seen lately. I think it's making Paul, it's got to be making him absolutely crazy. And there's only so much that a manager can preach, and there's only so much that he can teach. And then guys they go out there and react on instinct. And in many cases, this year it's been the wrong instinct. And there's no real explanation for that. You can change managers, and because a manager has failed to have a good base running team, well, who you got? If Paul Molitor can't drive that home, can't make that happen, who's going to make that happen? And things look so bad when you're not swinging the bats well. They just haven't hit. But again, it's not the lineup that was scoring all those runs second half of the season. If you look at the guys that contributed last year, the only guy that's contributing so far this year have been Rosario and Escobar. No Polanco, no Kepler, no Dozier yet. Joe Mauer, hurt a bunch. It's just not. It's not the same lineup.
No Sano, no Buxton, yeah, and even Castro, even though he's not you can't say he's a good offensive player. Frankly, he's hit better than Wilson. He's actually probably hit about what Garver hit and played better defense than Garver. So he has been missed, even though he hasn't been a spectacular player for them. Let's get to a few Twitter questions here from FTF on Twitter. Face the Facts, Minnesota. I asked for questions on the Twins, and he asked, do they have to be Twins related, or can it be something positive? Which is a pretty good line. From your friend David in Philadelphia. He said, I'll take the Sixers win total versus the T-Wolves win total next year in a cheesesteak versus walleye sandwich bet. I don't know if I could. I think the Timberwolves will win more than 50 games, but I think the Sixers could be spectacular in a bad conference. I'm not taking that bet. I'm sorry. How about you?
A man's got to know his limitations, and betting on NBA teams would qualify for me.
From Scott Lindholm on Twitter, will or should we see more of Jake Cave? I like his effort and skills. Well, here's the thing. I think we probably will. It's an all-team tryout right now. I think. I mean, a manager's job is to win games. He's thinking about winning ball games every day. What's the lineup that's going to give me the best chance to win? So that you're running Rosario out there, and you want to say, I know I'm running Kepler out there, but at this point, it's the struggle is so much. You as a manager saying, well, I'm trying to win this game. I'm trying not to bury the psyche of this young guy that I think is going to be a real good player for me. But back to point number one, I got to try to win this ball game. So I think we'll see a fair amount of Jake Cave. I think he's going to get every opportunity to prove whether or not he's the kind of guy that they're going to want on a little bit more long-term basis with the Twins. I think Paul will run out a lineup as best he can, though because he's been severely hamstrung. He's been handicapped with injuries. From another one from your friend David in Philadelphia, who also is the CEO or president of Pitch In for Baseball. I always forget his exact title. Let me see.
He's the founder and CEO. Yep.
Founder and CEO of Pitch In for Baseball. Check out Pitch In for Baseball at pifb.org.
That's it.
Good. I just want to make sure I got it right. And we've told you about Pitch In for Baseball before. Actually, Roy, why don't you just give us a quick synopsis and how people can help if they'd like to?
Well, very, very quickly, I'm proud to be the chairman of the board of Pitch In for Baseball. We are the acknowledged leader and expert in procuring new and gently used baseball and softball equipment, and then warehousing, checking for quality, and then redistributing or distributing to underserved youth everywhere. We're closing in, I would say, in the next 2 years potentially. We will get to 1 million kids that to whom we've given baseball equipment. Kids that would not be playing baseball otherwise because they have no means to get the equipment. So I'm very, very proud of the organization, and would love it if people would go to pifb.org, become supporters of ours. We are one charity that fixes the problem. If you think baseball is important in a kid's life, and kids aren't playing ball due to lack of equipment, with our donors and supporters' help, next week those same kids can be playing ball. So we'd appreciate the look.
Check out pifb.org. Another one from David. Did Roy have a nickname in his playing days? Seems all players do.
I did. I really didn't have much of a nickname. Guys became less and less creative over time, and it got to the point now where the best that people will do is diminutives of someone's last name. So my favorite was Ron Gardner. His great nickname for Justin Warner was Morny. Wow, that's great. Yeah. That's
Gardy. Gardy called him Morny.
Gardy called him Morny.
And his pitching coach was
so
Andy.
I was called Smalls, but the best one that I ever had, it never stuck, thankfully. But when I signed as the number one pick in the country in 1974, I went to Double-A baseball with the Texas Rangers in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. And the first week I was in Pittsfield, someone in the local paper, some writer, wrote that people should come out. Talked about me being the number one draft pick and how much money I signed for. This will be interesting to people. I was the number one pick in the January draft and signed for $100,000. And it has become a tad different these days. But this writer said, fans, you ought to come out and see Roy Smalley, $100,000 in raw flesh. And my teammates got a big kick out of that, and they started calling me raw flesh, and then it's shortened to RF. So I was RF to my teammates, that whole year in Pittsfield, which was pretty funny.
That is awesome. Well, from now on in this show, I liked Roy Smalley's chin music, but Roy Smalley in raw flesh is a much better
raw
title.
Flesh. Yeah. I mean, it hasn't been used in however many years, so we can resurrect that if you want. I prefer you didn't, but
I think
as these say, as nicknames go, most really great nicknames, the owner doesn't like them too much.
That is so true. I could go through my personal history and give you some material too. I think flesh-colored T-shirts with the logo on it is the way to go.
Well, I'm kind of thinking now that I've let this out of the bag, that we're going to be getting some pretty good stuff from Russo Slacks any minute.
Oh man! By the way, what kind of Model T did you get with the 100,000 bonus?
Yeah, right. It's and believe me, I'm not spitting at it. I'd love for someone to give me $100,000 tomorrow, but
sure.
It's a lot of money. But it's as is the case with my career, and as people ask me, what do you think that you would be making these days? The only thing I can say is there'd be another zero attached to just about every part of my career. So just one of those things. I never worry about that too much because I think about Henry Aaron and especially local legend Harmon Killebrew. I always used to look at Harmon and say, Harmon, I don't blame you if you just sit and shake your head, because I think Harmon made about $100,000, pretty close to max, in his career, Hall of Fame guy like that. So I'm not crying about it. I was blessed. It's just that players now are even more so, even more blessed.
Yeah, it's a good gig if you're good at it and if you can handle it. It's a good gig these days.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being blessed times 10, which is
right
where they are today.
Exactly, and as it works in all the sports leagues, the people who pave the way don't necessarily reap the rewards. We see that in the NFL quite a bit too, and the NBA, of course. Another question from Scott: is Gibson going to be traded?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that again, they'll be listening, and it will depend on on what they perceive the value is in return. But I think he's got to be a target. He's pitched fairly well this season, his record notwithstanding. I think he's been very competitive. I'm sure there are scouts that are recommending that people look at making a deal for Gibson if they feel like they have what they can give up makes their club stronger. People are always looking for pitching. And I think the Twins in this case are, actually have a pitcher that they can, at least one spot in the starting rotation that they can give up because of the guys that are in the minor league system. And that's the really good news. That's the positive part of this. Now, we haven't been able to say that for a long time about the Twins organization. And it looks like with Romero and potentially Gonzalez and some other guys, it looks like a starting pitcher can be expendable, and they'll be looking at improving the club in other areas.
By the way, do you hear anything on Gonzalez? Do you get a sense of whether they're really optimistic about him or whether he's just kind of somebody that might end up packaging at some point in their trade?
I don't really hear anything. I'm not really sure. I have other than Romero. I know they've been high on a lot of guys, but you don't hear a whole lot of buzz. We're not hearing just unbelievable buzz on Gonzalez. We're not hearing unbelievable buzz on Slagers. Even though he's been somewhat effective when he's come up, we're not hearing about Mejia, who was a personal favorite of mine. I really thought. Left-hander with the kind of stuff he had. I thought that he was going to figure it out and become a viable option. And nobody is doing the pitcher's version of knocking the cover off the ball. Right? I mean, there's nobody that they're saying, "Holy cow, we got to find a way to get this guy pitching for us in the big league." So that's a little disconcerting. On the other hand. I do think with Barrios and Romero, if Romero can get command of the three pitches that he's got, he's going to be a Barrios style pitcher. That's on the way. That's on the horizon, and I think people should feel pretty good about that.
Let's get a final thought from Roy again. Thanks to Barry Coffey. Check out pifb.org. Email me, jsouhan47@gmail.com if you'd like to sponsor this program. And check out talknorth.com for all the shows. Follow us on Twitter, all that other good stuff. Roy, as you lay in the hammock and ponder all this stuff, do you have a final thought for us?
Well, I've got one quick baseball thought, and that is we should all stay focused on the organization going in the right direction, I believe. It'll be 2 years before we know for sure one way or the other, but I believe that there's a plan, and the plan's a pretty good one. So I'm optimistic about that, even though this year has been a disappointing one, it would be one thing if everybody in life just absolutely failed, and you say, "Oh gosh, we're back to we have to wait another 5 years." I don't believe we're there. So I think that can be a positive. And I'll give you one quick musical suggestion.
Oh, good.
Sitting by the lake here in the hammock, playing music. The song I've been listening to that kind of captures this whole thing is Riviera Paradise by Steve Ray Vaughan on the Instep album.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fantastic little instrumental. It just shows that, and you and I talked about top 10 guitarists, all rock guitarists all time. You listen to Riviera Paradise by Stevie Ray Vaughan and tell me that it'd be pretty hard to say that anybody else could do the kinds of things that Stevie Ray Vaughan can do. But anyway, little musical interlude there.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I know a lot of guitarists. My lead guitarist. I once tried to put Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan in the same sentence. Not even saying Stevie Ray's better, just kind of comparing them, and he wouldn't have it. I mean, there is, there's a huge debate among guitarists, and most people who are like, Jimi Hendrix is the godfather, he's the creator, he's the innovator, and everybody else who tries